Hello, 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 hello. Today we are going to have a very brief discussion about the difference between civil and criminal law. And I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible because I don't know where you're at, but it is a beautiful day outside here and I am ready to go play some golf. We got any golfers out there? If we do, maybe you should, when you go play, always make sure you take an extra pair of pants, in case you get a hole in one. Anyway, as always, if you find this video helpful, go ahead and like it and subscribe to my channel. Maybe share it with a friend that is going through a law class and maybe needs some help with some clarification on this topic. But as I said, we're going to talk about civil versus criminal law. Okay. Civil law is where you have a dispute that arises between person versus person, person versus business, business versus business. Okay. It's usually going to be resolved with some kind of action, some kind of payment, money, property, or actions, okay? Whereas a criminal lawsuit, that is going to be something that is brought about by a state. And when I say the state, that's going to be a state, a county, the federal government, some kind of prosecuting agent, a district attorney, a federal prosecuting attorney, someone like this. In a criminal case, criminal law, okay, that is a crime against society. Okay, and that's where you could be facing jail time. Okay, you could be fined, imprisoned. Whereas when we're talking about civil law, you're only talking again about payments, property, actions, and that kind of depends on what we're doing in civil law. Okay, we'll break civil law down into a couple more things. We could have an issue at law, and that can only be settled with money or property. And we'll talk about some of those cases coming up in later videos. Or we could have issues at equity. And that can only be settled by specific actions or specific property. So I'll be an example of that. Those would be like your divorce proceedings. Okay. You got to make specific payments. We're going to divide up the property specifically between you two. Okay. These are issues at equity. Where an issue at law could be, hey, you signed a contract to do this. You said you were going to do it. You didn't do it. So now you need to pay me back or you need to finish the work. That would be an issue at law. Okay, so that is your major differences there between civil and criminal law. And just some terms you should know when you start looking in and reading law cases. Okay, so the plaintiff, okay, the plaintiff is the one bringing the case. Okay, so when we're talking in civil law, this is the one the wrong has been done to them. Okay, say me and you, we have a dispute. You didn't do what you were supposed to do on the contract, and I'm upset. So I'm bringing the case against you. I am the plaintiff. Okay, you would be the defendant. And that would be a civil case. If it was a criminal case, okay, the state, it's always, like the state of Arkansas, the United States versus the state of Arkansas versus, okay, and that's kind of how it works out. And then the person that's versus, if it's against you, if you ever got a speeding ticket, it would be the state of Arkansas versus Chad Dunsham. Okay. And that would be a criminal case. No imprisonment there, but definitely a fine. Okay. The only time you might see something different in these is when you have those issues at law. Remember that talk about divorces and stuff like that, where it's specific action, specific property needs to be given. We're going to call them a little bit different there. Okay. Here, the person that's bringing the case is called the petitioner. The one that is having the case brought to them is the respondent. Okay. So the petitioner says, I want the respondent to do this, this, and this. The respondent can argue their case then, and we'll get more into the arguments they're going to do and the whole proceedings when we get into our next few videos. But the last little thing I'm going to touch on before I get off on this is it does not matter whether you have a civil case or a criminal case. Always be aware that there is a little thing known as the statute of limitations. And that basically means you have a certain time frame from when the act that wronged you or the criminal act was committed, okay, and a case has to be brought within that certain time frame. If that time frame lapses and then somebody comes back and says you tried to do it, it's past the statute of limitations, you can no longer bring a case. It's a moot point at that, and you just have to let it go, and nothing could be done about the wrong that you have suffered. All right, I look forward to talking to y'all again soon. Have a great one.